Hello all, welcome again to History in 3 with Dr. JC. Dr. John Chappo here. Today's focus, Charlemagne's Talisman. While most are familiar with the name Charlemagne, or within France, Charlemagne, and by the way, it's not Charlemagny either, okay? It's Charlemagne or Charlemagne. Jokes aside, most are familiar with the name, and rightfully should be. I mean, this is the guy that's long remembered as being called the father of Europe because he's going to unite much of what becomes Western Europe and bring together disparate peoples in the collapse of the Roman Empire, at least in the West. That said, most don't know about this thing called Charlemagne's Talisman. The talisman itself, depicted here, is a 9th century reliquary, and while there's some historical discussion and debate as to whether or not Charlemagne actually possessed this, he wore it in battle, or even died with it around his neck, there is this documentation to support that. In the fact that an individual like Charlemagne would have had a talisman, and these talismans were thought to protect folks from all sorts of evil stuff, and that they even had healing powers. I mean, this is commonplace in pre-Christian North, and I hate to use the word pagan because to pagans, Christians are pretty alien too, right? But it would have been the norm, and therefore I don't think it's too much of a stretch to suggest that Charlemagne probably did own this and probably did wear this. And why not? If it had protective healing powers, all the better. My own interpretation aside here as to whether or not he really owned it, wore it, or was buried with it, how he came by it is subject to discussion and debate as well. Some accounts hold that Queen Irene of the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople sent it as a gift to Charlemagne, or others suggest even that it might have been Harun al-Rashid. I mean, this is the guy that helps establish the Abbasid dynasty and the golden age of Islam. This is no small player in history himself. Yet we just don't really know how he came into possession of it, let alone when it resurfaced. That happened during Emperor Otto's reign or that of Frederick Barbarossa. We're not entirely sure either. But it does have an interesting life once it resurfaces, whether that's in 1000 or 1166. In the early 1800s, when Napoleon comes to power, his first wife, the Empress Josephine de Beauharnais, comes into possession of it, and she will hold on to it until she dies. The talisman then goes to the Empress Josephine's daughter, Queen Hortense, and Queen Hortense herself will hold on to it until she turns it over to Napoleon III. When Napoleon III dies, he will pass it on to his wife, Empress Eugenie, all depicted here. It will be Empress Eugenie in 1919 that decides we need to do something to protect this as an historical artifact. We can't just keep passing it around. She's obviously conflicted here, however, because it really probably should go back to Aachen. But Aachen is in Germany, and I'm reasonably certain in 1919 that the French and Germans aren't ready to sing Kumbaya just yet. Therefore, rather than send it to Aachen, she decides to send it to Reims. She decides on Reims for a couple different reasons. Located north and east of Paris, the town had long been associated with French royalty. 31 French kings were coronated in the Cathedral of Reims. And the town itself, unfortunately, had been heavily damaged, bombarded by the Germans in World War I. And she felt like, well, if we can deposit this reliquary that is the talisman, maybe protection, hope, blessings can be restored upon Reims itself. And thankfully she did that, because it's under French protection today. We can visit it and see it in the Palais de Thau, adjacent to the Cathedral at Reims. And it's a powerful place, an impactful place. I recommend everybody visit if you get a chance. For History in 3 with Dr. JC, I'm Dr. John Chappo. Thanks again for tuning into this brief window into Charlemagne's Talisman. I'd ask that you join along in other History in 3 with Dr. JC short takes, whether they be current ones or future ones. So long for now.